Hi, my name is Jamie Claret. I'm one of the directors at Amazing Support, and I wanted to do a video today about a conference that I've just got back from with my colleague and fellow director David Scher. The conference was about security for the SME, so small to medium-sized businesses, and the kind of security threats that they're facing nowadays. Which before, yes, we've always had viruses and firewalls and hacking and things like that, but the landscape's changing, and I'll explain why, and I'll explain why, having been to the conference, I'm quite frankly petrified now, and I really want my customers and other people who might watch this video to understand how that landscape's changing and how that will affect them. There were three key points that I wanted to talk about, so let's start with the first one. So you might imagine that as a big company, let's say you supply Boeing, or let's say you are Boeing, or you are Dell, or you're the Bank of England, or one of those very, very large companies, big corporates, that you would be under massive amounts of threat because they're the ones. They've got the money, they've got all the interesting and juicy stuff that a criminal might be interested in getting, and you'd be right. However, one of the graphs that we were shown showed that actually, because they are so big, and because they're so governed by compliance and governance, they have the highest levels of security, they have the best firewalls, the best equipment, they have got millions and millions of pounds to spend on this equipment. So what happens is the criminals look at it, a bit like looking at a house that's got the alarm and the padlock and the different devices to keep it secure. They look at that and they think, well, okay, we want to get in there. There's stuff in there that we want to get, but the reality is it's going to be really difficult to get in there. Really difficult, and most criminals want to go through the way they want to get in through the least resistance. So what do? They use a technique which I'd never heard of, which is called supply chain fraud. Now, what that means is that it's too difficult to get into the large organisation. Very, very difficult. However, there are people and systems that work and are connected to that large organisation that have the access that they need. And the question is how can they gain access to the larger organisation by utilising the people or systems that already have access to that system. If you're a supplier, if you're one of our customers or any other small business in the world, and you supply a very large company or a very important company that other people might want to gain access to, then it's going to be easier for me to try and hack into your system, or to get information from your system, or to keylog and watch what a key player in your organisation does to get information from the larger organisation. So there's lots more around that, but in the first instance, you may think that it doesn't matter to you. I didn't think that it mattered to us. In reality, of course it does. The antivirus, firewall, we do all those things for our customers, we do them for ourselves, we password protect, but that's not enough. It's understanding how these criminals are using these people and this information and these companies to get to the bigger ones. So it's all about locking down what you can. It's about making sure you are up to date with your antivirus, with your firewall, with your updates, your patching, and reviewing this information regularly, making sure that we as your supplier or whoever your IT provider might be is checking this stuff constantly, all the time, because this leads on to the second point that I wanted to make, and that's about antivirus. Now, we've all got antivirus, we sell antivirus, our clients have got antivirus, you have to have it, it's important. But the scary fact is, and they showed us this graph, and I'll see if I can put it in the details of this video, but what the graph showed is that the amount of viruses that are being developed, and malware and spyware and ransomware, another thing I'll talk about in a minute, but the speed with which these things are being developed is twice as fast as the antivirus companies can develop the fixes and the prevention for those viruses. And they showed a graph that kind of went like this, this is the amount of viruses, this is the speed in which they can develop it. And I suppose the analogy is crowdsourcing. What you've got is antivirus companies that are developing this software to prevent it, and they might have 100 people, 1,000 people that work at that company that are doing that. And it might take them a month to find the virus, backward engineer the virus, work out the definitions of that virus and then load that into your antivirus software so that you stop getting it. The reality is that the virus developers and the criminals and the programmers that do this, they're doing it at twice, 3 times, 4 times the speed that the guys can write the fixes. And using the concept of crowdsourcing, it's not just one guy sitting in a dark room like we all think, a hacker with his hoodie on typing away. There's thousands of them, and they're developing it constantly. It's open source. They refine it. They test something. The example that they gave is that they might put a virus out there. It might infect 70 computers, but then what happens is it's really developed. A week later, it infects 140 computers because it's got better. They've learned from what it did. 2 weeks later, it's now doing 250, 300, 400. Then a week goes by. Now it's really kind of got through the barriers and it knows what to do. And it's terrifying how quickly these things are being developed. So again, patching, keeping your viruses up to date, firewalls. So all these things are really, really important. The other thing, and this is something that we've experienced, some of our clients have experienced this, I really hope no more of them do, but as they said at the conference, there is no guarantee because the goalposts are constantly moving, is something called ransomware. You may know it as Cryptolocker. It kind of gets bulked into the term of virus, which it is. But this is really, really sneaky and really, really scary. So here's what happens. Someone is on the internet, totally innocent, one of your employees is on the internet, and they go to, I don't know, the bbc.co.uk, totally innocent, no dodgy websites, no dark web or anything funky like that. They go into their normal, everyday websites. And what's happened is a hacker has worked out that the website that they're going to has a few vulnerabilities because whoever hosts that website is not keeping it up to date. They've not patched it with the latest updates. And they inject into that website a little bit of code. It might be 2 lines of code. So you innocently trot along, or your employee trots along to this website, and they look at the news, they look at the weather on BBC, and they come away, lovely jubbly, everything's done. What they don't realise is that when they went to that website, the injected bit of code has run. They don't even know about it. Their antivirus doesn't necessarily know about it. It's just running in memory. It's not even stored. It's not even a file on the computer. This is called a drive-by attack. You're driven by, and now you're infected. So once that happens, that token that's on your computer now subtly and in the background draws down other little bits of software that go onto your computer. And you think, okay, wow, that's bad enough. It can get anything that's on my computer. It can do what it wants on the computer. But it's not. That's not where it stops. What it then does, or some of them do, is it then sniffs out the network. So it looks across all of your computers, all of your servers on your network, all of the computers and servers you're connected to via VPNs and things like that. And what it's looking for, and it's very specifically looking for, is it's looking for the computer and the user name, the system username, that has the most access to the most amount of data on your network. And why does it want that? Well, what it does is it finds that data, it finds loads of juicy stuff, and then it encrypts it. And what do I mean by encrypt? It jumbles it up. It turns it into unrecognisable dots and dashes and letters and symbols and things like that. And the next thing that happens is a little pop-up comes up on the screen. And it says, you've been hacked. You've been encrypted. You can't get access to your data, and if you want to get access to your data, you're going to have to pay us a lot of money to get that data back. So that's bad enough, and you think to yourself, well, this is obviously some kind of fraud. Obviously it's fraud, but it's some kind of system. I'm never going to get my data back. And in some instances, what happens is every day that goes by that you don't pay to get this data back, the price goes up. It's supply and demand, and it gets to the point where actually they'll say, well, do you know what? You didn't choose to pay us the money. We're never going to get your data back. So what's happened is as computing power is increased, and as these guys have got cleverer and cleverer, they've encrypted this data so that there is no way of unencrypting this data. So that's the fact. We've had clients who've had it. There is no way. The antivirus people, the security people, you cannot encrypt the data once it's been encrypted. So what can you do if that happens to you? So one of the things you can do, I would not recommend this. There were people there that did recommend this. I would absolutely not to recommend this, but you can pay the money. You can pay the $1,000 or the $100 or the $10,000. Pay the money, and yes, they do unencrypt it, because it's a business like anything else, and if they didn't unencrypt it, then no one would end up paying, because word would get out that you wouldn't get out of it. So you can pay it. I wouldn't recommend it, because what happens is when you pay to get that unencrypted, they've now got your card details. They can start doing all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't want them to do. Yes, you've got your data back, but for what price? One of the questions I've always wondered is why don't they just arrest these people? They're making millions, if not billions of pounds. Why don't they just arrest them? And they explained at the conference, which is they use mules, money mules, and what happens is when you pay that money, that's going to a mule. They're shaving off 0.5% for their trouble, and then that money gets distributed to whoever needs to get that money. So it's very, very difficult to stop these. So what can you do to prevent that? Obviously the antivirus, obviously the firewall, just educating your users, making sure they understand. Don't click on links that come from emails. Check the domain name that it's come from. Even if it looks like a genuine email, we've had this with customers as well. It looks like an email from the boss saying, "Hey Dave, in accounts, the FD, I'm in a meeting at the moment," and he probably is in a meeting because they know when he's in a meeting. "Can you play this this purchase order? It's just come in. I just need to get it sorted. Please make the backs payment for 10 grand to get it sorted out." And people nearly do it. We've had people send stuff to us where they've said, "Look, it looks all legit, but I just want to check. It looks a bit, just something doesn't feel right." Don't do it. Send it to us. Ask us, call us, or ask your IT provider, and they can advise on this. So what's the one thing that you can do? The one most important thing that you can do to prevent yourself kind of having your business severely compromised and damaged by this, and it's backup. Backup. That's what they said. It was on big letters. Backup. We bang on about backup all the time. We bang on about disaster recovery all the time. I cannot stress how important it is to back up. And I'm not just talking about once a week on a drive, because the problem is you might get infected and that infection goes back a week. Your backup is infected. You've got to have retention policy. So you at the very least want to have a 30-day retention policy, so that your backups, you've got 30 days of backups. You want them off-site, you want them on separate devices, and most importantly, they've got to be checked. We check them for our clients. I'm sure your IT provider checks them for you. So please call us, email us, you know how to get hold of us. If you think your clients or suppliers or whatever would be interested in getting in touch, the details will pop up after this video. So thanks for watching, and speak to you soon.